Hi everyone, welcome to another video. Thank you for all the love you showed my previous video, and if you haven't watched it, please go to my profile and watch the previous video as it leads up to this video. Also, I would appreciate if you subscribe and turned on the bell so that you get a notification anytime I post. So straight to the point. Today we're going to cover the student visa. So this visa is well known. People have scattered information about it. So I just want to bring all the information together, and I believe this is the only video you will need to watch to understand the application process for a student visa to Australia. So let's begin. So there's different circumstances where someone can apply for a student visa. It could be someone offshore, so outside Australia, wanting to come to study in Australia, and these people could be wanting to study in primary school, high school, higher education, or any other type of study. Also, it could be someone who's already in Australia in a student visa already, but the student visa has expired, so they need to reapply for a student visa if they have not completed their study. Also, it could be someone currently on another type of visa in Australia. You could be on a visitor visa, you could be on a partner visa, and you want to study, so then you apply for the student visa. So essentially it's for anyone who is not an Australian citizen or a permanent resident but wants to study in Australia. First of all, if I wanted to apply for the student visa, these are the things that I would do even before I go see an agent. One, I'll make sure that I have a current passport that is more than 6 months. Ideally, it would be 5 years plus. One of the first things I would do is going to get a driving license. Oh my God, this is very important. I've been following of late. We have lost a lot of people in different states in the Kenyan community through accidents. I am not saying that it is their fault, but I am saying sometimes it's contributed by you have moved to a new country, you have never driven, and all of a sudden you have pressure to learn how to drive, because without learning how to drive, or without having a car and without knowing how to drive, it's really hard to work. And we were thinking about coming to Australia. Please go to a driving school today, and not just going to a driving school, start practicing. Talk to your mom, talk to your dad, your brother, your sister, your auntie, whoever who can put time aside to actually take you on the road so that you have on the road experience. So first of all, before I pick a course, I want to set my goal. What is my goal to coming to Australia? I could have studied this course in my home country, unless it's not available in your home country. So set out your goals. It doesn't matter if you're 18 or 19, you think, oh, I'm too young. No, set out your goals, because these goals are going to guide you in your journey in Australia. So set out your goal, jump on the internet and type, what are the most in demand? You could say, give me 10 or 20 most in demand occupations in Australia right now. Through those occupations, you can easily see what is in demand. So if your goal is coming to work and live in Australia, you need to position yourself in a place where Australia needs you. The pathway for students to permanent residence is through skills. So you have to focus on what skills am I going to gain. These skills need to be relevant to the Australian market. And yes, they change over time, but trust me, they do not change drastically. I know a lot of people will agree with me that Australia is quite an expensive destination to study. So the next thing I would do is I would jump onto ChatGPT and or Google and ask, give me the cheapest master's or bachelor's program in XXX, whatever you want to study. Say bachelor in nursing or master's in nursing, master's in accounting. And what you will get is a result based on the school fees. And this is very important, because this is going to give you a guidance for when you go to the agent, and they easily gauge what the difference is in terms of fees. Once you have at least 3 universities that you think work for you in terms of location, in terms of fees, and in terms of qualifications, because this is very important. Different universities, just like in any country, have different requirements for different programs. So while you're looking at the program, so you've gone into the university website, the website spells out everything you need to be able to qualify for that whatever program you want to look into. So once you have your top 3, then go to an agent. When you speak to an agent and say they suggest another university, these are the things that are going to guide you as to whether you're going to change your mind. 1, do you know someone in a certain state? This is so important. If you have anyone, it could be a friend, it could be an ex-schoolmate, it could be a cousin, it could be a sister, brother. If you know anyone in a certain state, I would 100% say go to that state, because there is nothing like having support from someone who has been here, especially if they've already been a student, so they've already walked the path that you're trying to walk. So that's really a big one. And number 2, it's about the finances. So say the agent says, oh, how about you consider this university? Because like I said in my previous video, the agent will suggest to you university based on the universities that they are working with. By working with means that they are getting commission to send you or to apply for you to become a student in the university. Not in all universities or institutions or let's say colleges do this, but most of them do this. So the agent will probably suggest to you a university. Tell the agent, can I have at least 3 options? Then they will give you maybe 2 more options. Then you can gauge, are they in the same state? If they are, then that's a tick. What's the difference between, the fees? Then you can gauge. And what's the difference in the requirements? Because you have to make sure you're meeting the minimum requirements that the school wants so that you can qualify for the school. So once you've gone there, the agent has guided you, the school spells out what you need. You have to have English qualification, 90% of the time, depending on what country you're coming from. So to book an English exam, it's so easy. You jump onto their website, Google, if you want to do PTE, the 2 most popular are PTE and IELTS. They also accept TOEFL, Cambridge. It depends with the university. So I would say if it's TOEFL or if it's PTE or IELTS, jump onto their website. It will ask you what country you're in. Then it will ask you what city you want to sit your exam on, and there is a calendar. That's how you book the exam. There's nothing. I remember when I went to apply for my own student visa, the people had this notion that the agent had to book the English exam for you. Granted, maybe back then it wasn't online as it is now, because it's been a few years, but now you do not need, everything is on there. Preparing for these exams are so important, because the school has set a minimum score. So say for nursing, they've said you have to have a minimum score of IELTS of say 666 in all, 6 and above and 6 in everything. So there is speaking, reading, listening, writing. So all those 4 categories, you need to get a minimum of something. And the worst thing that always happens is when you miss it by a point or 2, just one category, you have to redo the exam, and it can get expensive. So don't rush. If you are booking an English exam, book at least a month or 3 weeks or 2 weeks, depending on how good your English is. And it's not about how you talk. Sometimes it's just you have to study for the exam, because there's a way that the exam is structured, and the exam is online. So you have to also practice talking, talking on the microphone and trying to block out distractions, because you will be sitting next to people taking the same exam. And if your mind wanders off, you can easily get distracted. You can buy preparation materials on their website. It's quite expensive. I would say do some research online. There's plenty of resources you can use. Use YouTube too. There is plenty of people offering classes on YouTube that are free, like a pre-recorded classes. So just go and prepare for the English exam. So once you sit for the English exam and you've got your result back, this is when the agent can now apply for the school. So you need your transcripts, and it needs to be certified. Everything has to be certified. You need your documents, your passport, your ID, your birth certificate, everything, identification, your qualification, your English exam, and any other requirement that the university requires. Then you apply for the school, and there is an application fee. So you apply for the school. Once you apply for the school, you wait. Schools are pretty good, takes 2 weeks, 3 weeks, sometimes even a week, and they get back to you. So once you're accepted to the school, you get an offer letter, or rather, if you're using an agent, the agent gets an offer letter. So what you need to do is you need to go read the offer. If you're happy with the offer, you sign it, and then you organize to pay the school fees, the full school fees of the first semester. What I will say about offers, sometimes you get a conditional offer, and this means that the school are not 100% satisfied with your qualifications, but they've given you an option. So say they're like, oh, you don't really qualify, in our eyes, you don't really qualify for the nursing program, but there is a bridging program that if you take this program for like a year or 6 months, if you pass it, it will directly lead to an enrollment into the nursing program in our university. And this is very common. So if you get a conditional offer, I would say take it if that's the university that you really wanted. So get the fees organized, and the agent will help you pay the fees. You don't give the agent the money. You deposit the fees in the school's bank account using the school's bank details provided in the offer. Okay, are we together? I sound like I'm shouting, but this is really important. So once the school has received the money and everything is good, they will produce the COE, which is the confirmation of enrollment. And this is what you need to then to go to step 2 of application of the visa through the Department of Home Affairs. When you initially went to the agent would have provided you a checklist, because the agent will not wait until you get to step 2. He or she will provide you a checklist that you can start gathering documents that will be needed for the actual visa application. So by this time, hopefully you've got all the documents that are needed for the application. So to apply for any visa in Australia, the application is online. They do not prefer paper applications, although you can mail it. It's not advised. So all applications are done online. You create what is called an IMI account in the Immigration or the Department of Home Affairs website. So one form that the agent will give you is a form that gives them a right to act on your behalf. So basically the form will be like, I, Brenda, declare that I am happy for agent X with registration number. So the agent has to put their registration number, because all agents have a registration number. They might not have a personal registration number, but they will be attached to like a company that is officially registered with the Department of Home Affairs here. So they will quote their name and their registration number and the name of the company, and then you sign saying that you're happy for them to apply on your behalf, to act on your behalf. So that's step 1. So then the agent goes into the portal, they create an IMI account in your name. And because they have created it, unless they communicate what the login details are to you, which most of the time they don't, you will not know the progress. So that's when you have to depend on the agent to know what's going on. But if you apply for yourself, you can monitor everything by yourself. The Department of Home Affairs website, if you have not visited it, I will highly, highly advise you visit it. It is very easy to follow. You just scroll down to the type of visa you want. So go to the student visa, and it has all the documents that you need to attach. And even when you create the IMI account, it guides you on step 1, what you need, identity documents, upload. And if you haven't uploaded something, it will pick up and tell you, please upload this ABCD. Each visa in Australia has an application form. So this form can be found online, but if you're using an agent, they would have already downloaded the form, filled it out, and they will ask you to sign and declare that you're happy with the contents of whatever information has been provided. So then you go to attaching supporting documents. So So the first one would be identifications. We're talking passports, national ID, your birth certificate, your parents' birth certificates. And then you need to attach the COE that was provided by the school. Also, you need to get a health cover. So every person on a visa needs a health cover, a student visa. So the agent again will advise you on which is the best company to go for. I've paid for the health cover, then you can have it as whatever evidence that the health insurance company has sent to you, you attach to your application. Next, they want to see your proof of funds. And this is so important. They want to make sure that you can support yourself financially during your duration, your stay in Australia. The bank statement is case by case because there is numbers that have been set out by the department. Then it depends on your circumstances. So one, if you are a single student just by yourself, and I will read this so that I get it correct. If you're a single student by yourself, they need 21,041 of living expenses per year. So that's approximately 21,000 Australian dollars per year to cover your living expenses. So say you're coming to study a bachelor's of nursing that is going to go for 3 years, and you're hoping to stay here for the 3 years. You need to have the full amount of your course. So if your course say is 30,000 a year, so you multiply that by the 3 years, that's 90,000. On top of the 90,000, you need to have an additional 21,000 for living expenses per year. So then again, that bumps it up to around 160, 170. I haven't done the math. So that's how much you need to have in your bank statement. So that's how you have any additional dependent. So if you have a spouse, that is an additional on top of the cost of your course and the 21,000, there is an additional 7,300 AUD per year for this additional person. And if you have children, there is an additional of 3,100 per child per year. So that's how they calculate the bank statement. So basically, the more people are attached to a visa, the higher the bank statement amount is going to be, or the proof of funds, because basically the department wants to make sure that for your whole stay in Australia, the duration of your study, you have accessible amounts that you can access in case of anything. So this amount has to be, there's also conditions about how long the amount has to be in the bank before you present the bank statement, who it can come from. Some people are like, oh, my uncle, my auntie, who it can come from. So there is also conditions around, the proof of funds. Also, you could present a scholarship letter if you've gotten a scholarship, because that will cover your tuition fee. But you still, if they are not covering your living expenses, you still have to, to show the funds for the living expenses. You could also provide a financial guarantee letter or an affidavit letter where someone has sponsored you for your study in Australia. So that's the breakdown of the bank statement or the statement of funds that you need to provide. So this is where it's really important to have an agent, because this is where it starts getting technical, because it's sometimes when you're by yourself, it's really hard to understand what are the latest. Sometimes things are not as black and white as they appear on the website. There could be a little bit of leeway or some ways that the agent could advise you that if you just read it off the website, you wouldn't know. So in the visa application, also there will be a requirement for your English test. So not only will you provide your results to the school to obtain, an offer and eventually a COE, you will also have to present your English test results to the department as part of your visa application. And yes, they do have also minimum requirements. So you should, the agent will check that for you, or if you're doing your own application, you need to understand what are the minimum requirements to be, for my level of English to be acceptable for this visa. Another requirement is a character check. Not everyone will be required to provide this, but most of the time they require you to provide, like we call it in Australia, a police clearance. I think in Kenya it's called statement of good conduct. It has different names in different places. Basically, they want to make sure that you do not have a criminal history. So if you have lived in different countries in the past 10 years, they want this document for every country you've lived for more than 12 months or a year in the past 10 years. So say I was living in Kenya, and then 5 years ago I moved to Dubai, and then I'm applying to come to Australia as a student. I will need to get this document from Kenya and from Dubai. So you need to keep that in mind. If you have lived in multiple places, or they will need different separate documents for the separate places you've lived within the past 10 years, as long as you've lived there for more than 12 months. Requirement I'm going to talk about, and this is one of the most important, is the genuine student requirement. So the whole point of genuine student is the department wants to understand, why are you coming to Australia? Are your reasons genuine? Why did you pick Australia as your destination to study? So the first question they want to know is, what are your personal circumstances? They want to know, what are your family ties? Do you have any family back home to go back to? Did you have previous employment that maybe you have taken leave to come and study in Australia? What are your economic circumstances? Do you own property? They just want to understand you as a person. And this is really important. So when you're writing this statement, please use all the resources you can get. Use Google. Ask Google, give me, like 10 or 15 or 20 great, genuine statements. So because you want to read what has been written before and what is considered a really good, and then you want to make it personal. You want them to see you, so make it as personal as possible. But be mindful, don't blabber. It's only 150 words. So you need to make sure you are speaking, like you're getting your point across. And please don't make it generic. So don't go to ChatGPT, Google, and paste. They will know. Everyone knows when answers are generic. Make it as personal as possible. Let them know you. Let them understand you. Let them understand your circumstances. Portray your passion. Portray why you think Australia is a great place. Why you think a degree or in Australia is a game changer for you. So really put a lot of work in this. It's only 5 questions, I think, or 4 questions, but this is one of the most important parts of this application. So 1, they want to know your personal circumstances. 2, they want to know why Australia, why this particular institution, and why this particular course. So those 3 things are so important. You want to explain why Australia, and if you're moving to a specific state, you can talk about moving to Melbourne or Sydney or Hobart. You can make that more personal. Show them that you have actually researched about where you're going, what is attracting you to this city. You could have gone to any other state, any other university. Again, Google this university. What is it best known for? What are its achievements? So make them understand that you've done your research and you're passionate about this university and about coming to Australia and about this course. So find ways to explain why this course is going to be great for you, what you hope to do with the knowledge that you gain, So really dive in. But remember, it's only 150 words. So the good thing is you can blabber and write a lot of words and then copy and paste it in ChatGPT, our great assistant, and just say, make this, straight to the point, impactful. Just use those words that you really want your statement to portray. And number 3, they will ask how this course will benefit you and what are your future aspirations, what are your plans after this course. And again, please be passionate. Please don't make it generic. Please make it personal. Let them see you. That is so important. There is an extra question. If you are a student already in Australia and you are reapplying for another student visa, there's an extra question, because the question is around what happened, why do you need an extra student visa, blah 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 blah. And there is also an extra question if you are currently in Australia on a different visa. So say you came with your husband, you're on a spouse visa, then now you want to study and get into the student visa, there will be an extra question for you to again explain your circumstances, because the whole point of this question is they want to gauge from their eyes, do they feel that your reasons for coming to Australia or staying in Australia, are they genuine? And trust me, this question, it's a make or break for your application. So if I were you, this is what I would spend the whole time, like the weeks until the agent submits my application. I will spend every day on this question and perfect it and make it as personal as possible. So far, we have looked at what to do before you go see the agent, the process of applying for a school, and now we have just covered how to actually apply for the visa itself. So once the visa is applied and it's ready to go, in most countries, like I will talk about Kenya because my experience was from Kenya, they will send you for your biometrics, your fingerprints to be taken. This is at their consulate, so you will go and they will collect your photo, your fingerprints, and this goes with the visa application. During the visa processing time, you will also get an appointment to go for a medical checkup, which people call medicals. You have to pay an amount for it, and it is done in a designated place that has been designated by the Australian government. So you will get all the instructions. You will get a form that will be sent to this medical center, or if you are in countries that things are done differently in different countries. Some people, you have to download the form yourself, fill it, and then take it to the doctor. So it's processed. Every communication will be through the EMI account. The department never contacts anyone or any agent in person. So every communication is through the EMI account. To put things into perspective, your application will be assigned to a case officer, and this case officer is the person who's going to judge, go through all your documents, go through the checklist and make sure that everything you have provided is right, and then they can grant the visa. If they grant the visa, then the status will be, will be updated in the EMI account. And when you log into your EMI account, you can see the progress, like what has happened. You can track it. So that is really a great resource. Currently in the website, they have processing times. It's a tab, you click it and you click student visa, whatever visa that you have applied, and it can tell you. So currently, I will read it out. It says that 50% of applications are processed in 34 days and 90% of applications are processed in 7 months. So I would say take the 34 days as an average. Sometimes it comes earlier, sometimes it goes later. It also depends. The most important things, and these are the tips that are on the website of what will help your application be processed the quickest, and I'll read them. One is accept to receive any electronic communication. So this is part of the, when you're signing, because it makes it easy for them to communicate if they need extra documents, if they have a question, any of that. Two is if any of your documents are not in English, you need them to be translated by a translator who has a registration number. So you need to provide the name of the translator, their registration number, their qualifications, and the translated documents. Three, if your names do not match in any document. So my birth certificate says Chepleting with a C, and my other document says Jepleting with a J. So it sounds very trivial and very silly, but trust me, I had to do the form that says my name is different, because for them, everything has to match. They cannot assume anything. So make sure you go through all your documents and make sure all your names match. And if they do not match, you need to get a document, like a swear and affidavit that said, I used to be known by this and this, and that is done by a lawyer, and then you sign it and you attach it as part of your application. Also, make sure that your date of birth is in the correct format in the form. So that is DD, which is a day, the month, and the Y the year. So I know it sounds silly, but all those little things can push your application to 7 months, because by the time the case officer gets back to you and asks you for a question, your application goes back. They continue with other things, so they will get back to it when it's back in the queue. So you don't want anything in your application to be returned, and this applies to everyone that is in your application. So say you're applying for your dependents, so you have a husband or a wife, then you have kids. All the things that I have said previously, make sure their names match, make sure that their dates are in the correct format in the form. That's not in your documents, but in the visa form. So just make sure all those little things. And this is where then having an agent is really, really beneficial, because they know these things and they will make sure of these things for you, because this is not their first rodeo. This is their bread and butter. They apply for visas every day, so they know these things. They also advise to use the document checklist, which we have already talked about. Genuine student requirement. This is very important, and they have said make sure it's filled out, and it's filled out thoroughly. You cannot go back and say, oh, can I get the one I submitted back? I have changed my mind, or I have amended it. No, once it's gone, it's gone. Once any document is attached to your IMI account, it can never be deleted. It will be there. It can be overwritten, but it can never be deleted. And for genuine student, it cannot be overwritten, because you wrote those things in your sober mind. So their advice is really take your time. Like I said before, go through this document. This is one of the most important parts of the application. Make sure you write everything you want to write, make it as personal as possible, and submit. So then you've submitted, and waiting. And I remember my waiting period was very nerve-wracking. And just because school starts next week, it doesn't mean that you will give pressure to the department and say, oh my God, I need my visa, my school starts. I got my visa a week after school started. Some of my friends that were coming to Perth that time came 3 weeks later. So they do not really, it is your responsibility to know when the school starts, to start the process early enough. You cannot rush their process. So say your visa comes, you still get granted your visa, but by that time a month of school is gone. You will have to defer to the next semester. So this is where, when you arrive on shore, we'll talk about it in the next video, you need to go to the university. Even before you arrive on shore, you need to explain to the university, because remember, you have a confirmation of enrollment. So for you, the university, it's business as usual. In this video, we are also going to cover what happens when your visa is delayed. So you still get granted the visa at the end of it, but your visa is delayed. So school has started. What do you do? What are the best next steps to take? Before I finish, I will just cover the conditions for this visa. This is really important. You need to maintain enrollment. Remember that confirmation of enrollment, that COE. You need to make sure it is not cancelled. If you decide to change institutions, which is highly not advisable, that's why initially I said make sure this is the school you want to go to. Please don't think I will get there and change institutions. It's a very risky game, especially in the current immigration climate. So if you decide to change schools, you are running at a risk of your current COE being cancelled before receiving the next COE. And in this period where your COE is cancelled, you have gone against the first condition of this visa, so your visa can be revoked. So it's very important to maintain your enrollment. It's important to observe the working hours, and I have just checked the website. It does say 48 hours a fortnight. It used to be 40 hours a fortnight when I was a student, and that a fortnight means every 2 weeks. So that's the amount of hours that you're allowed to work. And remember, when school is closed, you're allowed to work as many hours as you want. And also present satisfactory academic progress. So it means you are also doing well in your course, like you're progressing as you should. It's okay, you fail some units, because that's life. I failed 2 units in my time, so that's not like, ooh, but it means that you're not deferring semesters. You're not, like, you are making progression in your course. So Thank you. I know today it has been a long video. I was considering doing this in 2 parts, but I thought, you know what? If I want to apply for my visa, I want all this information in one video so then I can feel equipped to go out there and just get on with the application. So sat through it with me. Thank you. I appreciate you being here. If you have any questions, please let me know. It could be on my DMs in Instagram. It could be underneath in the comment section. And if you liked this video, please interact with me. Leave a comment, leave a thumbs up, subscribe. I am very, very excited to do this series. So next week, we're going to cover life after visa approval. And I will give you all the tips, all the lessons I learned, everything that you really need to know. Of course, I won't cover everything because it depends where you will land, but trust me, I will give you a lot of tips and you will feel equipped. You'll feel like at least I know what I'm expecting when I arrive to Australia. And then after that, we're going to also look into the graduate visas and all the options that you have after your student visa, and that will now lead us to what pathways do you currently, and I use the word currently because it changes. So we're going to look at what is available currently as your pathways to permanent residence and eventually citizenship in Australia. See you in the next one. Thank you.